Good evening, pnawn da. Croeso I webinar cysylltfermio ar pasbort hyfforddi y Lion Training Passport, sydd yn edrych ar beth yw'r gofynion newydd efo'r scheme. Welcome to PharmaConnect's Lion Training Passport webinar. We'll be looking at what are the new requirements of this scheme. Leroy Burrell from Poltech will be joining us tonight to discuss. Mi fydd yr webinar yma'n cael ei recordio, a copi yn cael ei roi fyny ar wefan cysylltfermio yn nes ymlaen. Felly o hyn ymlaen mi fyddai yn cyflwyno yn uniaith yn Saesneg, ond mae croeso i chi yrru cwestiynau trwy'r chat box yn Gymraeg a newn ni gyfieithu nhw wrth fynd ymlaen, ond fydd Leroy yn ateb yn Saesneg. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the PharmaConnect website in a few weeks. So from now on, I'll be presenting in English only, as the recording will have a transcript in Welsh. So without further ado, I'll start a quick presentation just to go through a few things available through PharmaConnect at the moment before handing over to Leroy. So the advisory service is open, it's always open, and you can apply for instances of advice if you're eligible and have got instances left by contacting your local development officer and going through there. So you can have advice on business planning, on technical advice such as infrastructure, which has been quite popular lately, and of course soil sampling. You can also have private 1-hour consultations with different consultants on different subjects, such as poultry ventilation, to discuss the ventilation in your shed and routes going forward, and how to calibrate if you're having trouble. You can also have a consultancy with a business consultant to discuss your business as it is, or an infrastructure consultant to discuss the new water regs, for instance, and how it will affect you and the different infrastructure changes you can make. Again, as I said, if you're interested in any of our services, contact your local development officer. Their number can be seen on screen here now, but you can also find them by going onto the PharmaConnect website and clicking on Contact Us and clicking on the local development officer page. So there we go. So I'll hand over quickly to Leroy. As I said, you can ask questions in the chat box as we go along, but as it's being recorded, Leroy will go through the whole presentation and then we'll ask him the questions at the end of the presentation. If anybody has any technical issues, please let us know through the chat box and we'll do our best to help you. So over to you, Leroy.
Thank you. I'll just, would you be able to unshare your screen so I can share mine, please? Thank you. Okay, hopefully you can see my my screen now.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, my name is Leroy, and I work for the administrative party that provides the administrative function for the Lion Training Passport. What I wanted to do this evening, and thank you, Owen, for inviting me and to this evening, is to give you a bit of background. What is it? What we've got to do, and how we can then comply moving forward. Hopefully, I'll answer a lot of the questions that you may have as we go through. But like Owen says, just pop those into the chat, and we'll cover those at the end. Okay, so what is the Lion Training Passport? Is an industry-led partnership, and it's made up by the British Egg Industry Council, Poltech Training, and Lantra, with 3 parties within the scheme. We were actually invited as Poltech to work with the British Egg Industry Council several years ago now, when the British Egg Industry Council wanted to set a formal training scheme for their sector. The idea is to establish a common minimum level of training across the whole of the UK egg sector, and develop a recording system to be able to record that training on, which then can be used as a method of demonstrating compliance. There's a governance group called the Lion Training Passport Management Group, which is responsible for the development and the management of the scheme and the definition of its standards. This management group is made up by representatives from the British Egg Industry Council, which cover the Lion code of practice itself, pullet rearers, hatcheries, eggs producers. So the sort of companies we've got Highline, Anglin, Free Range Eggs, Joyce and Hill, Noble, and the Bowler Free Range Eggs, all members of the group. We also as Poltech, we sort of bring to the table our experience with several of the skills passport schemes. My department that I head up runs the administrative function for the poultry passport scheme for the meat sector, as well as the Lion Code, and also an international scheme as well for international poultry production as well. We also have Lantra, who are also at the table as well, which were former Sector Skills Council, but they also provide obviously their experience in the training sector as well as they also provide the online system for the recording the training. The chair that's been nominated to the group is a gentleman called Jeff Ferguson. He's well known within the sector and and works very closely with the British Egg Industry Council as well, and myself heads up the administrative party. Like I say, the scope of the scheme is that it covers hatcheries, pullet rearing farms, and egg production farms, and it's applicable for all members of staff. So all those that have contact with the birds or the poultry, including the farm manager or owner managers. The idea is that every single job role that exists, we slot within a series of groups that, or we call them bands now, that then define what that minimal training requirement is. And behind that minimal training requirement is also a syllabus that the training needs to include. So it's really important to ensure that it doesn't just match by title, that it also matches by content. So the idea is to have that common network of providers providing across the whole industry, across the whole of the UK. It also gives choice to individuals as well of where the training comes from. This table here sort of summarises some of those three groups that are defined. So we've got band one, which are sort of seen as single operative skills. So egg collectors in the hatchery environment, it would be sort of single skilled hatchery operatives. So that there'd be an expectation to have a formal induction when the person starts working in the organisation, but also to have biosecurity, security and egg handling training, and also food safety training. The food safety training, as we know, has been part of the Lion Code for a number of years. Then we got the roles that fit within band one. So we see those as more of a stock person type role or a multi-skilled operative. And that introduces then the requirement to have training in poultry welfare to improve and monitor and maintain welfare standards. Also introduce subjects such as health and safety as well, with health and safety requirements. Then we have band three that then are the people that run the site, the management of the site, which then brings a higher level of poultry welfare training within the standard. On top of these, also it's expected that each holding or each site defines somebody who is who's going to be responsible for first aid provision on that site. And that's somebody who would be trained to at least emergency first aid, which is the one-day first aid course that's recognised by the HSA. And again, that can be defined from any of the roles within the site. Okay, so the training courses can be delivered. The training courses, sorry, where are we? And the training courses and their deliverers are all approved by the scheme. And that's a really important part of the scheme, to make sure that the courses that people attend all meet that common standard that we talked about earlier. So that it doesn't matter who you go to for that training. If it's a course that's been stamped as recognised by the Lion Training Passport Scheme, you're going to have the same experience. That training, if we were to be talking about this just over a year ago, we'd be talking about face-to-face delivery of training. But since then, it's more likely that it will be online type training like we're doing today. Again, it's tutor-led training. That's the whole idea. It's not the idea is that you're not reading a book and getting the certificate. And the idea is that you learn from us taught sessions, that you go away with greater knowledge or refreshing of the knowledge that you already have. And the idea is the training can be delivered by internally. So that could be an organisation that's developed their own courses that meet the minimal requirements, or it can also be an external provider. So our website, liontrainingpassport.co.uk, lists a number of organisations that are already approved to deliver those courses. So the idea of that approval process that goes through the courses that every single provider of courses has to go through is that the course has to have the prescribed contents. The tutor also have subject competence and experience as well. And they have to know the subject that they're delivering and also have a relevant training qualification to be able to disseminate that knowledge to you, to be able to then to provide that information to you. Like I say, these courses could be classroom or tutor-led e-learning courses or more the traditional e-learning courses. The training of itself is each course has a 5-year expiry unless legislation says differently. So the sort of ones which we're probably looking at which have a less than 5-year expiry period would be the food safety course, which, as you know, already has 3-year expiry period, and also the first aid training, which HSE defines that as every 3 years as well. So a key part of the Lion Training Passport is that you have access to your online training record. It has that record that defines what your training requirement based on the role that you have within the sector. But then it also provides that secure access for you to then for your training records to be held on. So as you complete the training, certificates will then be populated onto there. So you've got that access anywhere resource that you can use during an audit. And also the great thing is that it also, by holding those records, it then can provide automated reports as well to identify gaps in training for you, or when you've got expiry date coming up as well. And the idea, everyone can have access to that, to their own personal record on there. That's a secure access that you would log on with an individual login, be able to see your own training record. But then as a site owner or a site manager, you would have access to your full site's records. It doesn't just hold the minimal training requirements, but it also can be used as a resource to actually hold any training that you've completed, so above and beyond that. And again, that same reporting function will be then, but allow you to helps you to manage those training records as well by identifying when those expiry dates are coming up. So you're provided with a full training record management system. Okay, so the steps we take to comply, well, it became a requirement of the Lion Code from the 1st of January this year. And it was actually started to be audited by the auditors from the 31st of January of this year. Key steps of compliance is that in year one, a Lion Code auditor will be looking to see that you are registered on the scheme, that you have got the evidence of registration, that may be logging on in front of them or providing them with the confirmation letter which we would provide you with when we register. And then the next steps would be then you would then start working towards that training, working towards completing that training. Like I say, you may already have this training in place, you may already have certificates, and that's important that once we register an individual, that training is then provided to us so we can then add that to your record. So one of the key things we encourage people to do is provide us with a copy of their food safety certificate so we can get that onto there. You're not expected to register today and complete all the training by tomorrow. The idea is, in the description that I tend to use from the people I receive questions from, is that treat it as a marathon, not a sprint. You know, the auditors are going to be looking for steps towards completing that over a period of years. If you do all the training now, in 5 years' time, you've got to do it all again at the same point in time. So I'd just keep chipping away at that. And the guidance that we've seen already from the Lion Code is that they'd be expecting at least one course to be completed every year. So by the time it comes around to the year inspection next year, they would expect not just the registration, but at least one course completed. So how do we go through registration? Well, on our website line, trainingpassport.co.uk, you can download an editable PDF where you can complete your online registration. Registration onto the scheme is £20 per person per year, and we can. Sorry, I've just noticed in the slide that I've got on there that we had an extended period for early registrations. That's we opened up registrations just over a year ago. And early registrations were able to get an extended period of registration rather than just 12-month. It was the clock didn't start ticking until the 31st December. Now that when you register now, from the point we confirm the registration, that registration period is 1 year. So the registration would provide you with that online account. It will define that training requirement as well, as we've just talked about. For organisations with multi-locations, we can also provide a sort of full hierarchy into the record management. So it's quite good for you providing granular reports to define, so you can have a look at what training has been completed on a particular site or a location, for example. So what does the registration include? Well, you've got the initial setup of all the records. It'll provide you with that online access for the individual, but also for the team managers as well. You can also provides you with unlimited uploads of training information. So as many certificates you want to send through, the input team would work through those and update them onto the system. We can also provide unlimited numbers of reports, monthly automated reports for you, and also full support on how to use the system. We can also help you signpost you to training, because the training provider network is growing all the time. There's probably at the moment there's probably another 4 providers actually. Only we've had applications this week to actually be approved. So that network, please keep looking at our website. That keeps growing all the time. So we help you to signpost you to the training provision as well. Like I say, completing the training, it's a training that's already approved, that you've already completed prior to registration, still counts. It doesn't mean that from today that all the training you've done over the years doesn't count. Anything that's already recognised and approved by the scheme will count towards the training requirements that are specified on the passport. The idea is, like I say, is to, like I've said already, is continue to work towards that, completing that training requirement. And like I said, there's a full network of training providers to choose from, and they all meet the same standards. And like I said earlier, that organisation can provide their own training, but it just has to go through that same approval process that the external providers have to do. And as you complete that training, you'll be issued with certificates to confirm your attendance or completion of those courses. And those certificates can be provided to us. Some training providers provide them direct, depends if they've got a data sharing agreement with you or your agreement to do so. Those certificates will be forwarded to us, and we would then populate them onto the system, and that will then cover that, show you that training requirement is complete. Sorry. And the idea is, it's not just register today, complete the training over the period of time, but it is a continuous cycle. The idea is that 5-year period is that it's not to have to do the same course again. A lot of things will change over time, and so over 5 years there'll be additional things added into the scheme. It's a standard that's always changed. So not additional courses, but additional content into the courses. The whole idea is that sharing of best practice and going through the detail of the changes in requirements. Like I said earlier, the expiry period is 5 years unless it's food safety or first aid. And then obviously, as your workforce changes, there could also be a changing of registration. So it could be that members of your team to retire and replace, or you employ newer members of staff as well. So those can be registered at any point in time at any point in time. Sorry. The registration period always starts from the point of their registration. Okay, that was a real brief overview of what the scheme is and how to comply. So the key thing, just to summarise, is that for now is to register onto the scheme, but then also once you're registered, that defines your minimum training requirement, and then start looking for provision of the courses such as the Farming Connect or our other delivery partners.
Thank you very much, Leroy. So as I said at the beginning, please send your questions through and we'll ask them to Leroy. If you want to send them through in Welsh, you can do that. We'll translate as we go along, but Leroy will answer in English. So I've got a question to get us off the ground here. So I had a few questions during the last training window with Farm Connect regarding if it's a setup where there's just two people involved in the business. For example, a husband and wife setup. They both manage the enterprise, and they both work in the poultry shed and do this and share the duties 50-50. Do one of them need to apply for the Band 3 courses and one for the Band 2, or is it okay for both to go for a Band 3 if they deem themselves to be management level?
Yeah, the individuals can be registered at the same level. It's based on what you do on the site. So if you're both jointly responsible for the management of the birds and the production of eggs, there's no problem with you being registered at the same level. One person could be the manager, one could be the assistant manager, or they can both be defined as at the manager level. That certainly isn't a problem.
Great. So a poultry unit doesn't have to have a Band 1, a Band 2, and a Band 3?
No, not at all. It's all to do with what the work that those individuals will be doing on the site. You haven't got to have one of each band, for example, not at all. Great.
Thank you, Leroy. Question just came in from Nikki. Hi, please, can you clarify, is there going to be a specific food course for the egg industry, or is it the same food safety course that has always been done?
No. Actually, for this moment in time, we are recognising the current food safety courses that individuals have been completing over the years, but this scheme does specify a specific egg industry food safety course. So yes, you won't be learning about fridge temperatures and chopping board colours and things like that. It will be very specific, and there is a syllabus that has been defined by the working group for those courses, and we've already got a number of providers providing this egg farming specific food safety course. It's one of the key things early in the project we really wanted to do, is to have training that is relevant to your work.
Okay, you might not be able to answer this because I'm not sure how aware you are of the Farm Connect list of courses that are approved. So we do have the level 2 food safety course available. And I know poultry farmers have been doing it through that one in the past. So I'm guessing if they book that through Farm Connect and they let the training provider know that they want to do it for the poultry lion training passport, and then it's tailored towards them then?
They could do, yes. So if the Farm Connect provider has already got courses that have been approved that meet that standard, then yes, that'd be very important to do. But if they were to complete the current food safety course, then it would still be recognised by the scheme until it expires 3 years after its date.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned the website for the lion training passport, and I've just opened it on my computer now, and it's very clear. There's a section, and it's training requirements, and if I scroll down there, I can see the different bands there with example roles and courses that are in each band. So looking at those now, the Band 1, Band 2, and Band 3, there's an induction course on each one of them. What does that entail? It's
not a course, it's a process that you would do on the site naturally when you have a new member of your team start with you. It would so it'd be that it's having just a record that process is completed. So that point where you're talking about where the first aid kit is, it's the point what happens before you do formal training. So it may be that, you know, introducing what to do if there's an accident, where the first aid kit is, what you would do if you were feeling unwell, what would you do in you know, when you're paid, what your conditions of employment are. But we do recognise that a number of people have worked with the industry for a number of years, so we do have a process of removing that element for people that have been in employment for a number of years and may not have those records still. But there is on the website, there is a frequently asked questions section, and what I tend to do is I update that most weeks for the questions that have been posed to me, and there is an element on there on how to all about inductions. So yeah, keep an eye on that part of the website, and if you've got any questions, that's probably the first point to go to.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
It's okay.
any further questions coming? Remember, you can send your questions in and we'll ask Leroy live here. Or if you think of something after the webinar, send them in to your local development officer and we'll try and find out from Leroy or Poltech, or we'll check the Q&A section.
But yeah, I'm more than, even after today, if you there's my email address is on the website. There's a contact us form. Feel free to ping us any questions you've got after today.
Am I right in saying that should somebody have done a course through a provider and they're not sure if that's good enough, they're allowed to just send the details of that course through to you,
and to be honest, even before you book on the course, if you're not 100% certain, I'm more than happy, if you've got the title of the course and who's providing it, send us the details and I can certainly come back to you with a yes or no on whether that would be covered. And it's something we do for all of our schemes, to be honest, because it's probably better to ask the question rather than unfortunately there are some providers out there that would sell you a course and when you come to present the certificate it might not be as you expected or was sold. So please ask the question first.
Great, thank you, Leroy. So definitely if anybody's unsure about anything, send a question through to Poltech on the site. Then just another question here. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to translate this.
That's okay.
So Farmer Connect have got a lot of these courses available to deliver with 80% funding through their training program through Lantra. So the application window does open in May now. If they haven't done any of these courses yet, are they okay to wait until May to apply for these courses? And keeping in mind that if they apply in May, June, they'll be able to do it from around end of July onwards.
Yeah, certainly. The first thing that a red tractor, sorry, not red tractor, wrong scheme, line code auditor will be looking at will be that you are registered on there onto the scheme, that you've already done your food safety course as well is covering those requirements. So you haven't got to do everything straight away. You know, space it out for a period of time. And certainly the window that you describe sounds perfect. And like I said earlier, that's a great opportunity to have funding available because certainly in England that funding isn't available. So yes, I think you're very lucky.
Great. So definitely get registered as soon as possible then. Get everybody on the system, and after you do that you can ask questions if you're not sure about something, and then get in touch with your local development officer to arrange funding for the training if you're lucky enough to be in Wales.
We've received no end of registrations since December, which so it was a bit quiet at the beginning of last year, and but December was an exceedingly busy month for us, and we've now registered just short of 3,500 people onto the scheme. We're turning around applications at the moment. It takes about 2 weeks. We've got 93% of all applications that we receive being processed, and we're trying. We've got more resource to actually turn those around quicker. We'd normally like to turn things down within the week. But we were just, everything was very much concertina towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, and a pandemic got in the way as well.
Of course. Speaking of the pandemic, really, I know that the three training providers that are approved to do it through with funding through Farmer Connect. Those can be found on the website. I won't list them now. But if you go onto the Farmer Connect website, you'll get the names of those training providers, or contact your local development officer. They have made them available to complete remotely, most of them anyway.
Yeah. So
you can complete them from your own home or the poultry unit, as long as you've got internet connection, I guess, can you?
Yeah, we're seeing that the predominant of the training, predominantly all the training is being delivered as tutor-led courses. So Zoom is a very popular tool for most providers, but like Teams as well, and so that you'd still get the experience of a live tutor delivering the courses, but you're able to, like say, do it from the luxury of your kitchen table or your farm unit, rather than having to drive to a central location.
But I also take it that if somebody is more comfortable doing face-to-face training,
oh, definitely.
that
I
would
think
be available.
I'd like to be honest, I know that with training organisations are now moving, and the Department of Education are now trying to encourage face-to-face delivery of training. But I think that remote training will always have its place. And to be honest, I think it will be a long time before face-to-face will replace the volumes of remote training, I think.
Great. Another question.
I just saw another question pop up.
Ideal. So will a reminder be sent out when your annual renewal is due?
Definitely, yeah. So what happens is that at the month beginning, when your renewal is due, you'll receive a notification from the scheme to say you've got line training passports due for renewal. That gives you an opportunity to review them and say, yes, I would like to renew those, and we would just have a note back from you and then renew those, or if you need any amendments or changes made, we'd do those all at the same time as well.
Great, and a follow-on from Daniel there. So having all this information on their accounts, so will this do away with Lion Farm audits?
I can't speak on behalf of the Lion Code of Practice because I purely represent the project. But I think the Lion auditors don't have access to this information because of GDPR. You would have to provide them with that information. So by logging on and show them your records. So I think that's more of a question for Mark Williams than me. Sorry.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Remember this, we're still taking questions. We've got time for more questions if you've got any, so keep typing them in there. So just a question that came up a few times as well during the last training window. So for the band 1 applicants, so your egg collectors or egg graders or single skilled hatchery operatives.
Yeah.
So for those ones, some poultry farmers might have a lot of different band 1 applicants who just come in once a month, some of them once a week.
Yeah.
So would they need to have them all registered on the account?
We've actually clarified that just recently on our website, that there are some exemptions on registration. So a casual worker that it will use the same definition of casual worker as the Revenue and Customs. If it's an unplanned occurrence where somebody would come in and provide some support in an emergency or an unplanned incident, they don't need to be registered. If it's a regular arrangement that you have, then yes, they do need to be registered. Individuals don't need to be registered until they've completed their probationary period. So we're talking about 3 months lead time in order for them to settle in before you then have to register on the scheme. And there's no requirement as well to register anybody under the age of 16 unless they're on an apprenticeship program.
Great, thank you very much, Leroy. And just a quick question as well. So if you did have a lot of registrations, I'm not sure if I saw that in your slides, that is there a discount if you're registering a lot?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Sorry, I didn't include that on the slides, but we offer bulk purchase discounts for credits. So anybody who purchases 10 credits will get 1 extra free, and that credit can sit in your account. Your free credits can be used at that time for additional registrations, but also can be used for future renewals or future registrations. They don't have to be used straight away. They don't age until they're actually applied to a person.
Great, thank you very much. I haven't seen another question come in for a couple of minutes now, so I'll give you one last chance to do this. So as I said before, the training application window for funding through Farming Connect towards these courses, there's 80% to go towards them. That training window opens in May, closing end of June. So if you're interested in applying through Farming Connect and using one of our approved providers, training providers, then get in touch with your local development officer just to discuss which courses you need to do, and to give you time to go back to Poltech or Lion Training just to ask if that's the right course for you. So a question has just come in from Emma. I think you've seen it there, Leroy. We have been in the business for 11 years. We have completed the registration process. What's the next best move forward with any training? We are a family unit.
Yes, the best thing is that any training you've already completed, make sure that's sent over to us to make sure that we then have a record of that. Then what we can do then is highlight any gaps in the training, and then I would suggest then either picking a topic and then arranging to then book that with via Farming Connect would be an ideal way to utilize that funding, and just chip away. Don't try and do everything all within a short opportunity of time. Try and do regular occurrences. Some organizations, let's say, pick a topic and get everybody trained in that topic. Some individuals would just some organizations send individuals on different topics, and just so that you have a full coverage over there. It's entirely up to you how you do that. And an auditor would be looking to see that there is steps being taken to complete that training. That if you got to year 2 and it's still a blank record, that'd be where they were looking at non-conformances. But certainly look at just sort of chipping away at that training. But I would certainly urge you to utilize any funding that's available.
Great, thank you, Leroy. I think that's it on the questions now, so we'll wrap it up there, unless you've got something else to add there, Leroy.
No, I'm all good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us.
Any questions after today? Like I say, there's a contact us section on our website. Have a look on there, and ping me a message on there, or have a look on the frequently asked questions.
Great. So I'm on the website now, and yeah, it's quite clear. The contact us there. There's the email address and number and everything there. So just a quick one. So if somebody wants to register for the first time, do they fill in that page there?
There's a form which says a page that talks about enrolling onto the scheme. There's a link on there which when you click on it, will bring up a editable PDF. And then and then you fill in the first page, which talks about the organisation and who the key contact is, and then I think the third page, which then talks about individuals that you have within your site. There's a section on there that talks about purchase order numbers. If you don't use purchase order numbers, you don't need to fill anything in there, but it's sometimes people want a reference on an invoice. There's also an opportunity there if you want to grant access to any other organisations to your records. Some subscribers have been asking for farmers to provide that access. That's entirely your call. Under GDPR regulation, that is your decision whether you share that information with another organisation. But I know some subscribers are asking for that to then help you source training.
Great, thanks, Leroy. Diolch yn fawr iawn pawb am ymuno heno. Thank you very much, Leroy, for thoroughly explaining everything there. And I, for one, understand a lot better now after that. So we'll be able to hopefully help people in my area get on the scheme. So, as I said, contact your local development officer as soon as possible, just to discuss what's the best option for you with getting funding and doing the courses. So diolch yn fawr iawn pawb. I'll just restart my screen share now, so just to remind you of the services available. So as I said at the beginning of the webinar, so just for anyone who joined us late, so the advisory service is still open through Farmer Connect. Every business registered with Farmer Connect is eligible for 4 instances of advice through the advisory service for the duration of the programme, which can be 80% funded for one-to-one advice for things like business planning, diversification plans, stuff like that. There's also 100% funding, so fully funded advice for groups of 3 to 8 businesses, which can be popular stuff like soil sampling, fecal egg count reduction testing, mineral audits. There's also something that's been popular lately after the water quality regulations were announced, infrastructure reports, just to go over your infrastructure and put in place a plan to make sure you're compliant with the new regs. So also, before I forget, the surgeries, so they're basically tasters for the advisory service, but more advice. You get a 1 hour free consultation with a host of different consultants, which you can see there's so many different topics that you can discuss. Obviously, being a poultry webinar, I'll note that poultry ventilation surgery might be a popular one, and the infrastructure surgery. So at that, I think that's all I've got to say for tonight. So diolch yn fawr iawn pawb am ymuno. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. Diolch. Oh, and don't forget to complete your the evaluation form at the end. Thank you. Cheers.